I'm Dr. Kimberly Manning.
And this is Dr. Ashley McMullen. And you're listening to the Human Doctor Podcast, where we explore the human side of medicine, along with teaching, living, learning, and all things in between. Using the power of storytelling, conversation, and connectedness.
Hey, we're two dope academic internal medicine doctors, but we ain't your doctors. So if you perceive anything we say here as medical advice, no, it ain't that. Also, the things we say, they only reflect our brilliant Black woman magic mind and not our employers.
You could have been anywhere, y'all, but you chose to be here with us, and we appreciate you. Let's go.
And just like that, we are back.
Yes. Good morning, sis. Happy New Year to you.
Happy 2024 to you. How you feeling?
I'm feeling okay. I, like many of us over the holidays, came down with an unfortunate non-COVID respiratory virus, and I am still getting over that. So apologies if I sound a little nasally, a little fatigued this morning.
Yeah. Normally they get to hear me sound nasally after I start crying about something.
Yeah.
This time it's Ashley who is the one that's nasally.
Yes. I don't know. I was like on the fence because I was, home for the last 2 weeks in Houston, which was such a gift. But I was just like, man, it sucks being sick at home, but also it's nice to just be laid up in my childhood bedroom, like with my mom there. So it was, it was kind of the best of times and the worst of times.
I love it. I love it. So I had a wonderful week on the wards at Grady, up until the day after Christmas. And my favorite moment actually of that week was when I wore one of my favorite pairs of scrubs that are like fluorescent green, and this patient told me I look like a sassy Grinch.
Extra sass in there.
And to be clear, he had been altered like for 2 days before that. And I walked in the room and he looked at me. He said, "Look at you looking like a little sassy Grinch." And I was like, that's abstract.
Wow.
And then he says, lifts up his breakfast tray and was like, "Hey, can you tell them to stop sending me hash browns with no ketchup?" So I looked at him and I just like felt a little tear like prickle my eye because I was so happy that he was doing better. Because I'm like, if you are complaining about our food at Grady,
yes,
it's particularly, the accoutrement on the side of it, and you got it in you to call me a sassy Grinch. And then he says, "You the Grinch, go steal me some ketchups from somewhere." I said, "Sir, we about to discharge you."
Yes, you have been healed. It is time to go home.
That was pretty quick-witted, man. A sassy Grinch. And I kind of did look like a sassy Grinch. I mean,
I love it.
Because it was literally the color of the Grinch. Oh, that was funny.
Man. Oh, that's
wonderful. Guess what I started reading, but I'm not done with?
I hope it's Chain Gang All-Stars.
OM expletive G.
Yes.
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 Wow. Yeah. I'm really enjoying it so far.
Yeah.
I have no idea where it's going. I had no idea what it was about.
I'm very curious to know from the audiobook, because there was a lot of like when in the actual book, there was a lot of really important footnotes that kind of tie in both the fiction and like the true like history around incarceration in America.
Oh.
And I don't know if that's like how they work that in or not.
Well, first of all, I love that you knew that I was not holding the book in my hands.
Of course.
I mean, a little bit that could be shade, but then again, it's just the truth. So, okay. So no, I don't, I'm sure I'm missing some of that. What I will say is the narrator is knocking it out of the park and is like, there are multiple narrators.
I heard about that. Yes.
So it's great. But there are a couple books like that where I get the impression that I need to go ahead and get the book with my hands and read it. I think 1619 was the last book that I listened to. Then I was like, okay, let me go back and read it.
Absolutely. Yeah,
I
that's
think
a book
probably be one
that I would recommend having in person, or at least, go to the library, check it out.
Yeah.
And I'll add, since we did talk about Chain Gang All-Stars on a previous episode, I also picked up Heaven and Earth Grocery Store by James McBride, which was another like top contender for best books of 2023 on like everybody's list. I have to admit, I'm new to James McBride. He's a very prolific author and a musician, actually.
Oh,
And he has an interesting personal story as well. My next book on my to-do list, among many, is to pick up his memoir. But I just started having an Earth grocery store. I started it like 2 days ago. I'm already halfway through. It's incredible.
I'm gonna check that out. Yeah, I'm gonna
Yeah.
check out his books because, of course, as we're sitting here, I Googled his name, and there were other books I'd heard of actually. And I'd heard of Heaven and Earth Grocery Store, but I didn't know much about it. So cool.
Yeah.
I like it. I like it. I just finished another very short read, not fiction, because I like my fiction and then I like get better, get your life together books.
Yeah.
So I just finished Hidden Potential by Adam Grant.
Mm.
Um, and many people are familiar with Adam Grant. He has a great podcast. He also wrote Think Again and wrote, I think, Givers Takers. I really like that one.
Mhm.
But this one is, I will tell you, let me just tell you, pluck one piece out of the book that I dug a lot. One, it's about, sometimes we tell people to do their best and make that your goal, like do your best. And in this book, he kind of unpacks how that's actually not always the greatest goal. That's often pretty nebulous. It's good to set your sights on something specific. Yes, do your best, but if you are aiming for something, you tend to do a better job. And the one other piece as a clinician educator that struck me was when he talked about instead of asking people for feedback, he asked them for advice.
Mm.
I loved this concept. Like, hey,
Yeah.
can you give me some feedback on the talk that I gave versus what advice would you give me after watching that talk to make it better?
Yeah.
Um, because feedback puts pressure on you to actually say something critical.
Yes.
And it also suggests that you come from a place of lack. At least this is my impression of it.
Hmm.
Advice would be like, let me help you build upon something that I actually thought was great. Or maybe it is opportunity. Maybe it is a place of lack, but maybe it's not. So I am going to try that. I'm on wards at the end of this month, and I'm going to be like, hey, can y'all give me some advice on how I could be a better attending?
Ooh, I like
Mm,
that.
Isn't that good?
Man.
Yeah. So we just be reading books, and I guess occasionally we look up some medicine.
Yep. Yep. Well, I have to say, you and Jules look so lovely this morning, coming through nice and tanned from vacation. She's up and silky.
With a little bobby pin in the front.
Exactly. I like what you're doing there. So,
Yeah, Mahalia has a silk press right now. And she may, and for those who don't know what a silk press is, you know what? You should Google that. I'm not going to even offer you an explanatory comma. You just look that up.
yeah,
But
well, I will say coming out of Houston is not exactly silky as it once was,
yeah.
but I do straighten my hair like twice a year just to get it cut. So, yeah, but we digress
Yeah.
because, the real reason we are here this morning, ladies and gentlemen, is to be graced by none other than the Kimberly Manning, otherwise known as Grady Doc on your social media platforms. She's a nationally renowned clinician, educator extraordinaire, my friend, my sister, my mentor, my hero. Dr. Manning, what is the what?
That's pretty good. I like that.
Yeah,
I
I
like
worked
that.
on that.
I like that intro. Um, the what is represent.
Represent. Okay. Like represent H-Town. I like
Yeah,
it.
represent. Got to represent at
Yeah.
all times.
Yeah.
Represent. I'm gonna take you back probably about 10 or 12 years. At this point, I was a residency program director for our transitional year residency at Emory. We have probably one of the biggest transitional years in the country. Transitional year, for those who do not know, is a first year position that you take after medical school. That is a foundational year before going into advanced specialties like anesthesia, radiology, other things. I ran that program and we had about 24 to 29 residents every year. And I had been in the role for a while. I was in a groove. And, as proud as I am of our diversity at Emory, back then, it wasn't always that common for us to have multiple people of color into my program.
Hmm.
And in fact, there were some years where I didn't have any Black women, at least in our program. But this particular year, I did have one Black woman who matched in my program. And the part that really delighted me about it was not only was she a Black woman, she was a Black American woman from Southern California.
Wow.
She was from a neighborhood not even far from where I was from. She'd gone to school in other places that I don't know that weren't, connected to me, but we had that in common. We had grown up near each other. And when she matched with us, I was delighted. And so, just to be clear, with transitional year residency programs, the lion's share of where you interview and focus is on the advanced program.
Hmm.
So I hadn't really gotten to know her very well during the interview process or anything. So I was getting to know her when she came to the program for the first year position. I sit her down and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad I'm your program director this year. If you need anything, she told her where I lived, gave her my cell phone number, all the things, because,
Hmm.
you're new to a city, your program director is your home girl. I mean,
Hmm.
come on, it does not get any better than this.
Nope.
And I remember as I'm saying these things to her, she's like, oh, okay, yeah, like, cool, that's good. But not particularly responding like I would respond if I was an intern and I was getting offered this by my program director. But I was like, okay, whatever. I don't know her. We start the year off with this welcome dinner. It was one of the kickoff things that I did to kind of create a family like environment for the residents. And I used to do it at my house. And I invited spouses and everybody, and everybody could come. And everybody was expected to come because this was during orientation week.
Yeah.
So it was something that we put a lot of time into. We had it catered. We set it up to really be a great kickoff for the year.
Hmm.
And all of my residents came except one. And the one resident who had not shown up was her. Now, we were like, we have some programming built into the dinner, like where we like do this thing where throughout the week, everybody, you're given a name and everybody introduces the person, that you have to learn all about them. So it's like a really fun icebreaker, team building exercise that we do, but she didn't come. And the way I realized she wasn't there was that the person who had her name was like, I didn't hear from her. So I thought maybe something was wrong because this was mandatory. So I
Hmm.
call her. She answers the phone. Hello. You can hear like noise in the background. And I was like, hey, did I reach you at a bad time? She's like, oh, no, I'm out to dinner with my mom, but is everything okay? I said, well, we had the welcome dinner. It was mandatory. And just like, oh, yeah. My mom ended up being able to stay a little bit longer. And there was a place we wanted to try. And it was very sorry, not sorry. And everything about the emails said, this is mandatory. We expect you to be there. It was in the middle of the event. So I decided, like, all right, I'm not going to trip too hard, get off the
Hmm.
phone. Have the event. It was great. So I reached out and asked to meet with her. She comes to meet with me, and I bring her in my office and I start basically letting her know that was not okay. But after I told her the parts that were sort of that I would say to any resident, I let her know that if I don't look good, you don't look good.
Mm.
And if you don't look good, I don't look good. I wish it wasn't this way, but when we are in a place like Emory, we, meaning me and you and our intersecting identities as Black women, we got to represent, baby. This what you did right here. This was a ball drop that was not cool. But furthermore, it was a ball drop in a place where you should be really safe. And you should, if anything, you should have been the first person here. And she was like, well, I'm sorry, but like an after hours dinner, how do you mandate that somebody has to be somewhere at 6:30 during orientation week? Like, how is that even something you can make mandatory? I
Mm.
said, I've been program director 10 years, baby. She was like, well, with all due respect, and there wasn't no respect in how she said, it was important to me to spend time with my mom, and I didn't necessarily want to be with my mom at that. And I was like, yeah, but you're a doctor now and a professional, and sometimes you're gonna have to do stuff that you don't want to do. But either way, that's not a good look.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's bigger than you just doing something that could be perceived as unprofessional. It is a reflection of more than just you. You got to realize that while you're here, and you should realize that early. And I promise to do everything I can to support you, but it's our responsibility to remember that in all we do. I remember that everywhere I go in this hospital. And she looked at me and she was like, okay, is there anything else? And I said, no, there's nothing else. And listen, I'm saying this out of love. She was like, okay. Now, even though this person was from Southern California, unlike me, she had grown up in environments that were predominantly non-Black. When you talked to her, when you interacted with her, it was very clear that we grew up in a very different spaces. So whenever anything would come up related to race and identity or anything like that, she wasn't one of these people that was like trying to feel all that. Even you couldn't even like reach out to her like, "What's up, sis?" That wasn't you
Mm.
wasn't gonna get that. And every now and then, you do meet Black folks like that
Yes.
who like you give them the nod and they don't give it back to you, or they look
Yep.
at you puzzled, or why is everything about race? So, separate from the fact that we had racial concordance, there were other little lapses in professionalism with her that I dealt with throughout that year. And because I could not be objective and because I was just too angry, because my expectation of her was different, I just sort of decided, like, you know what, whatever.
Hmm.
So, mostly it was fine. And we get to the end of the year and we do this exit interview at the end of our transitional year. And you get to like talk about the program. And we usually have me and one of the assistant program directors would do this.
Hmm.
I specifically scheduled her to talk to somebody other than me because I didn't think that she would say much to me.
Hmm.
But when I say that baby unpacked everything she did not like about the program, she pretty much dragged me.
Mm.
I mean, and if you don't know what drag means, you just picture it. It's an unpleasant thing. She said that I put unnecessary pressure on her, that my expectations of her were not fair, that expecting somebody to do more or something just because they happen to be Black is ridiculous and is why a lot of Black residents are just under so much pressure because of people like me. It was rough. I mean, she didn't pull no punches.
Ooh.
And because she put it in writing and she said it to the APD. She was on her way out.
Yep.
So much so that my APD called me and was like, yo, can I talk to you? Because you just got dragged. Uh, um, and, you know, my feelings were hurt, but I was old enough then where I knew some of this wasn't really about me. And I wasn't also at a point where I could appreciate the fact that maybe she was right about me putting more pressure on her as a Black resident. Like I wasn't ready to hear that. Instead, I just decided that she was somebody who was a jerk and that
Hmm.
was how that was going to manifest. And boo, do you? So I never really responded to any of that. I just let her go on with that. And I'm like, good riddance. Hopefully, I never see this person again.
Yeah.
That was it. And like always happens, time passes and I forgot
Yes.
about her. I forgot about that girl. I was just like, whatever. She can kick rocks.
Yep.
And it was one day I was walking out of the School of Medicine, and the School of Medicine is near Emory University Hospital. So if you want to walk to Emory University Hospital, you have to walk over this bridge that you will pass people going that direction to. And I'm walking, and it was like kind of after hours, and it was pretty empty on the bridge. Nobody was really out and about. And I see this silhouette of this person coming toward me. And it was nobody else on the bridge. And we were both walking where we're going to meet in the middle of the bridge at the same time.
Sounds like a movie.
And it really does. And I realized that is her. Her body language looked defeated. Her shoulders were curled in. Her head was kind of down. She looked up and she saw that it was me. And she looked back down. And at that point, I said, all right, this is what we going to do. Okay,
Hmm.
cool. So I keep walking, and the closer I get to her, I can see like a melancholy about
Hmm.
her.
Hmm.
It looked like all of that spunk and that spirit that she had all up in my face years ago, it was gone. She looked beat down. And I just stopped in my tracks and I waited for her to get to me. And she kind of stopped and I said, hey. And she said, hey. And the way she said, hey, made me realize that she was open to talking to me.
Mm.
And I was like, have not seen you in so long. She was like, yeah. I said, how are you doing? And she let out a big sigh and she was just like, yeah. I said, how's residency going? She looked down at her feet and she just kind of shook her head and she was like, I'm here. I'm just trying to make it.
Mm.
And then she looked up at me and she said, you were right.
Wow.
Because I think at one point we were in one of our little heated discussions early in the year where I said, at some point, somebody is going to let you know that, that you ain't them.
Mm.
And look, if you operate this way, like you don't need nobody and that works for you, then God bless you. But someday you're going to need somebody and you're going to need somebody who looks like you. And her response back then was, okay.
Mm.
And she said, you were right. And I said, why didn't you call me? She's like, how could I call you? I was like, because I'm grown and I understand that like stuff happens sometimes and it's just not about like, of course I would have been there for you. And she was just like, it has been so hard. There have been some things that have just like not been cool. And I get it that I have not necessarily set myself always up to get the benefit of the doubt. But she was like, man, I got that memo that you talked to me about.
Mm. Mm.
And I
Mm.
got it in a way that, and she was just like tearful.
Mm.
And I pulled her in and I hugged her and I said, look, I I am still here for you. You can just call me anytime. And she was like, I'm gonna do that.
Mm.
And I said, okay. So, it was evening, so I was getting ready to leave. I said, okay, girl. Well, you have my number still. She was like, I do. And I was getting ready to pull away from her and leave. And she grabbed my two arms, both of my forearms that near my elbow. And she's like, I am so sorry.
Ooh.
And do you know what I thought about? I thought about this lonely, defeated, beat down Black woman resident in this very, very competitive advanced program. And I thought about the forces and the systems that have been created that made it feel for me like I needed to create a force field around her and teach her how to represent,
Mhm.
so that we don't embody the things that people think about our race, which isn't fair, by the way. And all I could think was, I'm sorry too.
Mm.
And that's what I told her. Baby, I'm sorry too. And I'm sorry, I was sorry for a lot of things, the pressure I put on her, but I'm sorry that we exist in a world where you screwing up just can't be that your frontal lobe ain't developed yet.
Mhm.
Like
Mhm.
you are basically punching the whole race in the face.
Mhm.
And we all work too hard to get here for you to be out here having dinner with your mama somewhere when you're
Mhm.
supposed to be here, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, so that we look like we supposed to be here.
Mm.
Baby, I'm sorry too. And after that, we kind of stayed in touch and, and I don't feel any animosity toward her. I mean, I think we all do things to survive.
Yep.
And I came to her like I had it figured out and my way was better than hers. But she was trying to survive just like I was.
Mhm. Man, girl, you just took me for a ride. I was not expecting y'all to cross paths again. But I mean, there's so much more there to unpack than I think we have time for even in this episode. I'm just like, we might need to do a part two. The what being representation and just like, how many of us have kind of felt that where it's just like you don't just get to make a mistake. Like your mistakes mean so much more than you. And particularly at that time, you being the lonely only, determines how many more of us get to come in the door behind you.
Yep.
And that really isn't fair. But at the same time, it's just like, this aspect of, professionalism and people, potential mentors reaching out to you and you're usually the protective, like older sister. Now I'm like the younger sister ready to throw
Right.
punches. Like, what's wrong with this girl? Like,
Yeah, but she was raging against the machine,
yep,
right?
yep,
And I was a piece of the machine that she thought, this is some BS, man. Like I ain't, I'm not doing this. I'm not playing this game.
exactly. And the other thing I think about too is just like for both of us as clinician educators, as leaders in our departments and divisions, as Black women, like, you're often in a position where, you are having to advise mentees, particularly mentees of color, both like on the usual level, then you go a level deeper and be like, hey, like,
Mhm.
this is what it is. And I find myself struggling in those conversations because I mean, like, I'm sensitive too. Like, I don't want to get bashed on evaluation. Like, I don't want you to not like me. But, you at that moment still told her what she needed to hear, even though she wasn't trying to hear it. And I've heard we've had off conversations where you've like talked about scenarios like this before, even recently. And I'm just like, how do you balance that? Like, what advice do you have for me?
Well, the one thing is you never want to be in a point where if somebody says something critical to you, that you can't take something from it, right? And be like, all right, well, what in this is true. Back then I wasn't ready to hear, to see her perspective at all. But what I do know is I know what's true about me. Sometimes somebody says something to me and I just know that's not true.
Hmm.
If somebody says, I don't care, she don't care about nobody but herself. I know that's not true. I know that's not true. And I know that if I closed my eyes tonight and did not wake up, there would be more people who could say, I know for sure that she cared about more than just herself because this is my testimony. I know this. So you can't say that to me. Now, if you say she put unnecessary pressure on me and she was dragging me for being unprofessional, but technically it wasn't professional for her to lay a unique expectation on me in my first week of internship just because of my race and my gender. Now that if she had, the capacity to put it together that way,
Yeah.
that is true. She was right. And as I grew older, I did start to shift the way that I avail myself to people who look like me.
Mhm.
Instead of making it a pressure, I will, more step to the side of it and say, this is a reality that exists. Allow me to support you through it. But I won't place a blanket of, expectation over you that says, if I don't look good, you don't look good. And if you don't look good, I don't look good.
Mm.
Which is literally what I said to her.
Mhm.
Like when I make a decision to do or not do something, it's bigger than me. It includes you. But why am I saying that to somebody in their first week of internship? Damn, can they just learn hyponatremia? Can they learn where the bathroom is
Yeah.
and where the stairwell that don't lock them in is? Like, come
Yeah.
on, come on,
Yeah.
come on, man. And I really hope that she learned something also about forgiveness. It's like that biblical story of the prodigal son,
Yep. Yep.
he came back and thought everybody was going to be like, beat it,
Mhm.
scram. And they were like, no, we love you still. Come on back.
Mhm.
I do think that it's important for us to create a soft place to land for people, even when they've hurt our feelings.
Yeah.
And you can't be that to everybody, but I could tell that there were not many other people that would have done that for her.
Absolutely. Man, what a God moment. Because who knows where she would have found herself had y'all not crossed paths. I mean, it just sounds like
Right.
she was in a place of like full defeat and had nowhere to reach out to.
And also what's in our control, right? Because
Mhm.
it was in my control to stop.
Yep.
So when I stopped walking, it was an invitation. And I don't even think I thought about that until just now when I told the story. But I
Mm.
do remember that I reached the middle of the bridge before she did, and I stopped and waited for her.
Mm.
She said, I'm about to talk to you.
Yep. Mm.
Yeah,
Mm.
girl. Well, internal medicine grand rounds is starting at the Emory University Department of Medicine. And seeing as I'm in a leadership role, I should probably be logging on to
Mm.
that.
Yes, yes, yes. Well, As you can see, I'm still sitting in my like blanket robe that I
Yeah,
rolled out of bed in. So I guess I should put some clothes on and start the day.
you going to do that.
Yeah.
You just that. You and Mahalia.
Yes,
All right, sis. Well, I sure do love you. And we just out here imperfect people trying to grow and do better right along with our learners.
absolutely. Well, thank you for blessing us with that story, sis. I love you as well. Glad we get to start the year off together. And yeah, I will talk to you very soon.
Peace.
Peace. That wraps up this week's episode of the Human Doctor Podcast.
Special thanks to our favorite brother gastroenterologist, Dr. Chuma Obiname, for the beats. Shout out to the Dr. Ashley McMullen for editing and production.
Mad love to our podcast family at The Nocturnist and the Clinical Problem Solvers, our Med Twitter fam.
And especially shout out to all of you, our listeners.
Until next week, remember,
we see you and you are enough. Holla!